take it from the other side. Okay, he's asking for permission to
Pass
type them.
the paper around for people to sign their names, please.
Do you want paper, or can I just tell you what the names are? You want me to type
Fine.
them? I know all their names. I can send them to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sandra, you want to take the minutes? Okay, go ahead. No, okay. Let's go on. I call the meeting to order. There's no public forum speakers. Approve the previous meeting minutes. We'll send your minutes, and we receive the final draft from Sandra. We pushed the minutes last time. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. And I think treasurer, the secretary, I think we have to make some, according to North Carolina state law, any,
So I noticed in the minutes, I wasn't here of course, so I don't know, but I talked to Larry and about this. I noticed in the minutes, after the closed session, there's a number of motions and votes. And my understanding is that the meeting didn't quite happen like that. My understanding is that those motions and votes were taken during the closed session, and they were just simply confirmed once the board came out of closed session that those decisions were confirmed. And if that's the case, then they need to be written a little bit differently.
okay?
So, Larry and I have been discussing this with Ashley Pacuero, who is the attorney at the Office of Charter Schools, and I've shared with her the June minutes, the revised ones, which we will also have to approve today.
Yes.
The way that I wrote, basically we had a closed session, we had some personnel decisions, and then when we came out of the closed session, we had the single vote, and she said that's appropriate, it's fine to do it that way. And she was okay with the June, with the revised June minutes. And I would suggest to do something similar for the July minutes. So the way they're written there, though, is that you came out of closed session and then there were those motions and votes, and I don't think it happened that way, based on what you told me.
It all happened during the closed session.
Yes, so they're not
So
correct.
what we should, can you direct what we should do with these minutes now? Yes.
So, and she also said that we don't mention salaries and stipends and things like that. We don't have to mention them. So it says here, motion to go into closed session. There's some stuff missing. Motion to adjourn the open meeting and go into a closed session at 8:57. That's fine. Motion to adjourn the closed session and go to the open meeting at 8:57, that's fine. And then what I would suggest is something like the June draft, where it's motion to approve the decisions taken during the closed session and then list those decisions, you know, so that there's clarity for someone who wasn't there during the closed session, because it was closed, so that they can know what went on during the closed session. Here it says motion to offer beginning teacher coordinator X amount of money in the fall and so on. So they need to be rewritten, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motions before the motion to adjourn. They need to be rewritten somehow.
Yeah.
So right now, I would suggest we can vote to approve the minutes without those 5 motions, and then I can try to rewrite them the way I did with the June ones, and then we can vote to revise them next month.
Why don't
Can
we
we-
just table the approval till the following month based on your revisions? And we can approve the minutes of that meeting next month.
I think it's very easy to approve it now, because if we write down two phrases.
I don't think it's a good idea to sit
we are
here
all
and try
about
to
members.
find the language
Right,
to,
yeah.
you know.
Okay, all right. So, can we have a motion?
If you want to approve anything, what I'm suggesting is take those 5 motions out
Yes,
and approve the rest of the minutes.
Let's just approve it
exactly.
once and for all in next month meeting, you know? I don't want to approve part of it and then next month another part. Let's just do it all one time.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, can I have a motion? You make a motion.
I make a motion to table the approval of minutes to the following meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, any discussion? Ladies,
No,
I mean, is Rhonda on the online? Is Joy online and
I
Karen?
am on, Karen is here.
So Rhonda is here.
Karen.
Karen, not Karen.
Zoe.
Okay, all right.
Yes, I'm on.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody, unanimously, okay? Let's move on, please.
We have to approve the revised
Okay.
June.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to make a motion, I think it was communicated to the whole board, a revision to the June minutes showing more details about the decisions that were taken during the closed session. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised June minutes and update them on the website.
Okay. Can I have, you make a motion, right? Don't you make a motion? A second, please? Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, unanimously. Approval, the next item is number 4, approval of resignations. Mrs. Bryden.
We have one resignation, Mrs. Allward, who,
How do you spell that?
ALWERDT. Her resignation was for personal reasons.
Anything else? Can I have a motion to accept the resignation?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Go to the next item, finance and budget report, Mrs. John Rochelle.
Okay, I don't have a formal report tonight because in the July budget that we received, we only showed $30 in revenue. We haven't gotten anything from the state or the feds for the month of July. As a matter of fact, the state has not even approved their budget yet. So we're showing, obviously, we're showing a deficit of about $38,000. So it's not anything significant. Hopefully the money will be coming in from Raleigh and Washington soon. The final budget from Acadia is due sometime the end of August for last year. We are looking pretty good with that. We're getting together with Acadia to finalize all those numbers, and we'll be posting that on our website once we approve it at the September meeting. I do have an item for approval. We currently have around $750,000 sitting in a non-interest bearing account at BB&T. I would like to propose a couple of options. Taking a portion of that money and possibly putting it into a 6-month CD that's going to have about 2% interest, or the other is putting it in a savings account which will get 1.75% interest, and we can make up to 6 withdrawals a month on that. So my proposal, my suggestion would be to, take $700,000 and put it into that savings account at 1.75, and if we have something terrible happen and we need to get some of that money, then we have access to it anyway through a savings account. Okay?
May I ask you something?
Absolutely.
How active is this account? How often have we withdrawn so far? How often have
We don't use it at all. As a matter of fact, last year, we actually consolidated those accounts. If we do use it, it's at the end of the year to kind of move things around and kind of balance things off or that kind of stuff. But it's not part of the operational budget at all.
Right, so if we invest it for 2% for 6 months, we will have much more to get compared to 1.7.
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm actually not suggesting the 6-month CD unless you guys want to go that route and maybe look at putting $500,000 into that. But I was thinking the 1.75 at putting more into it would be a better option.
As I see when we withdraw the money from the other bank, it was about $350,000 worth of BB&T. Okay, for a 10-month or 12-month CD was about $236 for 12 months CD, $236. To me, $500,000 can go to CD for 12 months, at the best interest rate we can have. We don't think, we don't want to, I just suggest not to really reserve, put on the side, let's say $700,000 of our reserves. $500,000 would be the best.
You're putting it into a savings account that you can make up to 6 withdrawals
I
a
agree with
month.
that too as well. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
So what you make a motion again? Is anybody else? No, let's make a motion first, and then Yanni, what's your motion?
But it's all right, he's proposing options, so let's
Right.
finish
Right.
our conversation.
Yeah.
So I think the question that Zoe asked is important, and if the account doesn't have a whole lot of movement, a lot of transactions, then we could look at a split choice, like take half of the money and put it in the best rate CD, like Larry says, and then put the others in saving.
The 6-month and the 12-month CD are the same amount. Same
rate.
Interest rate.
And they must.
So then it
Right.
doesn't.
Tony,
Better put in the 6.
but we cannot work with the savings accounts in the CD without checking account, because money will be getting out every month, paying checks. You know what I'm saying? We have to have a
John
checking
said there's
account.
not very many transactions. Is
We
that
don't,
what you said?
we don't go into that account.
But we went back and received.
We have a
When we issue money, when we issue checks and we sign checks from here, the check goes to the teachers or whatever, or, you know, we have to have a checking account.
We already, I'm not saying go into the checking account. This is a separate account.
So my thinking was that since this is not an account that we use, to withdraw the larger amount and at a higher risk in this case with the 2%, I can't call it risk, but do a higher investment for the 2% for a 6 month or a 12 month, and then have the rest available in that account.
There's 750 right now altogether. I mean, even if we want to be cautious in case we really need some money, we can live with 100K, 150K, 200K
And we don't
in
have
savings, since you can withdraw.
We don't have a
And then
balance.
put the other 500K or
In a CD.
whatever in the CD, 6-month CD.
You know, we don't have a balance if we need something. Johnny, you can make the, we would like to make a motion.
Well, let
John, make a motion, please.
Okay, how about if we look at putting 500K in a 6-month CD and 150K in the savings account and leave the rest in that one account, non-interest bearing account.
In the same bank.
Right.
And the CD is 175 and the savings account is 1.5.
No, the CD is 2%. And the savings account's 1.75.
Okay.
What is the bank again, John? Sorry to ask again.
I'm sorry?
What is the bank? What's the name of the bank?
BB&T.
Okay.
That's the bank that the foundation has the loan for the buildings in and everything.
And the school.
And it's-
Okay, so I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
The only thing I would want to mention is just make sure you're checking with Charlie, there's no concerns about some of the debt covenants we have with the loans we have. Because you're moving it into a CD that
Charlie
maybe
was
isn't.
part of the
Okay.
email.
Okay.
Then
All
I
right.
just wanted to.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, John. Foundation update, please. Mr. Carlos?
Oh, sorry. Nothing really much to report, it's just that we are moving forward with the land acquisition next door here, in addition 1.6 acres from that perspective. So we're hoping to move forward with that over the next couple months and get that in place so we can then work towards expanding and doing more things with the property. The other thing I'll mention is that for those of you that were here last month, there was a discussion around the sewer problem the school had. And I did reach out to Myers and Chapman, and we're working with them to see about getting the school repaid for some of the expense the school encountered because of that. For those that weren't here, the pipe that comes out of the school was a 6-inch pipe, and it went into a 4-inch pipe, and that doesn't work very well. And it was a mistake on their part. We found out that the permit that was requested by Myers and Chapman when they built the building was a 4-inch, and it should have been a 6-inch. So we're hoping to maybe get, because we had to spend over $10,000 just to repair that, not including cleanup costs that we had here. So we have reached out to them, we shared with them some data, just waiting to hear back from their perspective, so.
Thank you, Mike.
We still have to approve the finance budget report
Yeah.
from
John, can you make a motion, please?
I,
We got it.
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the budget and finance report.
Can I have a second, please? Can I have a second? To
I
approve the
have a
budget?
question about the budget. Shall I second it and then ask my questions?
Yes,
Sure.
discussion.
Yes, I'll second it then. So I'm looking at the budget that Lena sent us the other day. And I was wondering for some of the amounts that they are allotted to things. So I saw that there was 6,000 for professional developments. And I was trying to understand what professional developments those are. There was, I'm trying to open I'm sorry, my computer froze and I'm trying to open the document now and it doesn't obey me. Give me just a second.
Well, I can tell you right now that I know exactly what that one was for. If it was just this past month, is it a monthly statement she sent you?
No, she said, she sent a sheet for 2019-2020 budget, and she had it for divided board and worker, and I couldn't understand what that meant, but it was 2 tabs, and one I think was summative, the other one was broken down. And in the broken down, she had included that $6,000 for professional development, and then I'm looking at the other ones, but they are here.
Well, over the summer, that I know that's the cost of what we did for Reading Foundations, but that is covered with a grant.
That's why I was surprised, because I remember when I spoke with Vanessa, with Ms. Baker, she had told me that this was not part of any cost.
That's
So-
correct. I mean, it still came out of our budget, but I mean, it's going to be covered. It is covered with a grant. So it must just be how Lena's communicating it.
But it appears as a cost.
Okay.
When
It is a cost.
It should say 0.
Right, exactly. Yes, I understand.
Right, so now it shows that the staff development cost for staff development was 6,000. That shows that it's
Yeah, and we actually, John and Lena and Mr. Perulis and I just had a meeting with Acadia because we feel that some things are not being translated properly and visually in the budget. And like that's a very specific item that we talked about. That things that are paid for with federal grant money doesn't seem to be reflected appropriately in the budget. And so we just had a meeting on that last week.
Zoe, my suggestion would be to send Lena a short little email, because I'm not really sure what document that you're referring to.
okay.
Okay, and then if there's an issue, we can definitely address it.
Okay, because I was going through and I found questions that altogether there would be close to 30,000, but I couldn't understand what they meant. So I will email Lena and copy you all.
Okay.
So you all speak.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. We are voting for the budget.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously. Thank you, John, again. PFI report, please. Mrs. Rebecca?
Hey, you guys all received it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we move on.
I went over everything with Mrs. Brighton after understanding that I do officially report to Mrs. Brighton. So I guess I just, the budget that I sent you, we had our meeting, it includes everything we have planned for the year. So under my understanding, you all just need to give us the blessing to continue. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
There's something that I need to bring up. So you and I talked at length about, we went through every item in the PFI report, but something that that I was told and that we haven't spoken about, but today we talked about, was any club that operates with students, because you guys were talking about working with student council, which is going to be wonderful. I understand the logic behind it in that we want the parents, student council is always asking PFI to help out and to work in tandem. But one thing that was brought to my attention is that the exchange of funding with students and staff should always be through Lena here at the school. Like NJHS goes through Lena, and that's, for instance, why we were talking about yearbook coming here, anything that involves the students and the staff. So that was one piece of the report that I just, as I was going through it today with members of the board, just talking about that piece.
So is that going to be a new implementation? Like in the past, student council's done events and PFI's done events, so we would have paid money then. So is this going to be something new that's wanting to be implemented?
Well, in your report, it says that you would like PFI to handle the funds that student council brings in.
When I spoke to student council, I was under the impression that they don't try to make money. So we would just be
Right.
taking that burden off of them.
But they have an account, they have a line item in the budget.
And it actually earns income?
They have an,
Like, if they bring in money, it has
yes,
to be
they have
spent
revenue,
out.
they have revenue and expenses in the budget.
Would there be, and this is, since I just heard of this, this is my initial brainstorm. would there be a way, similarly to how we're doing, like the portion of the shirts goes back to athletics, it's gonna circle its way back? Is there a way that we have we keep up with everything, like what comes in, what comes out, and after each event, we submit the return sheet, which hopefully is zero, and if there is a cost, we were willing to absorb that cost. And if it earns money, the idea was that in the end of the day, or the end of the year, we don't make money, but we could have in there, if it earns anything, that allotment is then donated to the school, like for events that are partnered with student council. Like we could designate which events those are. We manage the money throughout the year, and at the end of the year, like I say, first thought off my head for that one. The reason that I would like to consider PFI taking over the financial side, and again, we haven't done anything yet, so please open discussion. In the past, it's been paper forms going home with families saying send in $5 cash in this paper form, and the teacher manages it, and there's no record of what that money goes towards that is ever reported back. So what we would be allowed to do is actually show those numbers a little bit better because we have the infrastructure for it. So that, or I would ask that the school start doing stuff digitally.
Right, and I think that's what John has been working with Lena and me on recently, is we need to be very clear about what's coming in. It's very specific in spreadsheets that we need to start keeping in-house that potentially were not taking place.
So I have no problem with the money coming in and out of the school for payments, but the issue would be when we have to upfront cost something, would that then come from the school, or would we be doing that? And I don't want to make more work for the staff when I have volunteers willing to do it, so I guess I just want to understand what, as long as I know what my responsibility is, I'll pass that information along. Maybe that needs to be fleshed out a little more, but.
I think it does, and so if we could, if my suggestion would just be if the board could proceed with the rest of the report, but then give me some opportunities to speak with Lena about how that was handled in the past, because like you mentioned something very specific. Like when they did a movie night, obviously there was an upfront cost that we had to pay, so I need to figure out how they handled that upfront before.
And I don't think we have any events scheduled until the end of September or October, so we would have time before this will become an issue.
Okay.
I remember the last, when there was an upfront cost, the school was paid, I remember that.
Right.
And then they returned the money back to us. Okay,
so that was it, that was just the one thing, and I apologize for bringing it up now, it's just something that came up today.
I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page here. The PFI, as we all understand, is an affiliated, not sponsored, let's say, group working with parents and students here and the administration. You all know that it's under the administration guidance, okay, and soon follow the policies and procedures of the school. To me, it's very important thing is, and I told Mrs. Presser that all the parents involved with students' years and all your officers should have a background check and fingerprint.
We've already taken those steps.
In order to work in this school. It's a very important, like we all here, board of directors and administration, the staff have. And another thing is that we have to make sure that the principal, the administration, should supervise any activity here within the school concerning involving students and teachers. You cannot lead, let's say, students, and you cannot lead students without the permission of the principal, or at least have a teacher there working with them, not on the PFI parts. This is for you and for the safety of the school. You understand that very well. We all understand. Because we also have, anyway, I'm not sure this is authority. All these are principles authority, as you understand. And if you ever hope not, any not agreement or whatever, then the principal can come to the board I think we created a mutual understanding of what we're all about here, because you, Mrs. Pesari, as you are an unincorporated 510c3, working within our school, and of course we have to have the permission of the board of directors, the only accountable. And also, I think that in every contract that you make, if you make contracts, you have to put that phrase that I thought about: no indebtedness to the charter school or to the North Carolina State Board of Education, like we do here when we do contracts outside. We also have that phrase here to protect the North Carolina State Board of Education. And the last thing that I wanted to say, please, because the auditor told me that, the auditor, our auditor, any money you're getting, cash or please give receipts. Give receipts, and the receipts have to have your name there, PFI, you know, because you're not getting money, you're not raising money on behalf of the school here. You're raising money on behalf of the PFI. That's very important. That's why in all other schools, as I see, as we said, the PTO is the money going through the school, the operating budget, under specific line items on the name of the PTO, and then with the cooperation of the board of directors and the principal, the administration rather, okay, this money can be spent to where you want to be spent, except if there is another urgent priority for the school to be spent somewhere else. Okay?
I understand all of that, and I believe that we are in compliance with everything that you said.
Thank you.
Is there, on that note of the items being spent based on items being brought in, I do see that the yearbook part is later on here, and so that was something I mentioned, but we can go into that in depth later on the agenda if you prefer. But considering that part, is everything on the proposed events and budget I sent you all okay to proceed with?
I think the administration can handle the yearbook and all the photographs and things like that. I think the yearbook anyway is created, let's say, with Janice and the administration.
Well, that's a later item, right, to go into detail with that? Is that my understanding?
On our budget? I mean, on our...
On your agenda, yeah, you have it down later, so I didn't want to go into depth on that now if you're...
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other items, as I say, I've gone over everything with Mrs. Brighton. The other...
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you through with your report?
The only other thing I wanted to make sure I did say that you probably all read was last year I set volunteer goals, and at our meeting last week we set them as the PFI. And so our goal is to increase all the families that volunteer 36 hours up to 55% this year, and all the families that do nothing down to 15. So we felt like those were attainable, and everyone's on board to really make that happen.
Yeah, very fine.
But yes, no, otherwise, unless you all have anything, I'm done.
My question to you is basically a recommendation from our auditor, because we get audited, we do an audit every year that goes to Raleigh to DPI. Do you guys do an audit?
I actually I looked into that because Mr. Prulis mentioned it to me, and the information I was told is that the presidents 2 years ago inquired about it. They went to an outside source who then told them that it wasn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's been done since I took office last year. The reason being they told them it was going to be like $5,000, and that seemed absurd. So
Right.
I am totally fine with us putting our books out there. I don't know, that is not my expertise, so I don't know the process for that.
No.
But I'm just saying what our auditor recommended, just because we're responsible to a higher
Right.
authority.
Every 510c3 nonprofit has to be audited.
So from what I did a little research on, very informal research, let me clarify that. I'm on a group with other PTO leaders across the country, so I just inquired on a few things. And some said that they actually do formal audits, and some say they just get a volunteer with experience and someone else that's not an officer to just know that there's been other eyes on it. Is that sufficient if we find 2 recommended families? Like, would you all feel like that was a sufficient way of someone?
We will ask our auditor.
And maybe that's
Okay.
well, the best way is just to, because he's directly connected with Raleigh as well.
Well, and I did share with Mr. Perulis that we do have financial records going back. I organized them last year because they were not organized. But we actually just switched over to QuickBooks, which was purchased last year but never implemented. So this year, all of our records will actually be done in a program, much more easy to get. I think that we're heading in the right direction.
Right.
I think this will be a good year with me staying on because I'm not taking half the year to figure things out.
Right.
So hopefully we can make progress and get some processes in place.
This is the reason we are talking about now, because you asked, we had all the right, everybody asked for our minutes, for our financial reports and things like that. The same thing we want from you as well. That's why I asked the other time, you have the last 5 years, financial reports. And I remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there were handwritten from accountant, like a report. That to me, it didn't seem that it was from a...
This is progress right
Right,
here. This is what I'll be able to give you every month if you want to.
Okay,
I can
thank you very
export this as often as you want to see it. I have,
And the other one, you
no
can
problem.
deal with the IRS, the IRS or the revenue services about if you have to have an audit. Because I also work for a non-profit organization, helping kids with special needs and things like that. And we also have to have income tax return, we have to pay our taxes and whatever it is, every month or every 3 months, North Carolina taxes and things like that. So make sure you are in good, how can I say, in order of what you're doing. So we won't have any problem, we won't face any problems.
the last thing I want to tell you about before you move on, the cups and the pens on the table are the ones that we purchased, and so those are for you guys.
Thank you.
I don't know if you got anyone that wants those, but they're for you, so feel free to take them. We'll be giving them out at open house.
And we appreciate your help as well. You're here, to supplement our services and do the best for our students, and work all together to do the best. Okay, thank you very much for your report. Number 8, please. NWEA map, vice versus check-ins. Mrs. Bryden.
Correct. So I already sent an email at length because I know that it's a change than what we were originally, the curriculum committee met back in May, and we talked about assessments at the school. And we talked about the consistency that even though the state was making a decision to move toward iStation, that we wanted to be consistent and keep M-Class. And we also talked about the fact that we would stay consistent with MAP. Well, this summer, we've had some unexpected financial impacts to our budget. Also, we learned just last week that the NC check-ins that our teachers have been asking for, that there is also a science NC check-in that's been added to the math and the reading. The NC check-ins, we've already talked about. We had mentioned, and the curriculum committee had approved that we could pilot it with math for middle school. But we had the unexpected incurring of the cost of M-Class this year. Because the state moved away from it, it's no longer free. The cost is approximately $6,000. We also pay for MAP. I know it was not something that we were able to discuss at length, but I sent my reasons for why the administration is proposing that we do move toward check-ins for this year. Not saying that we can't go back to MAP next year, but just with our current budget, and just to be clear, the MAP is approximately $10,000. Incurring the M-Class, which is 6, the MAP, which is 10. We learned last year, and just as administrators, we don't want to over-assess students. The MAP is beginning, middle, and end of year. M-Class is beginning, middle, and end of year for K-3. We are proposing that we adopt the check-ins, which would be beginning, middle, and end of year for math, reading, and science for grades 3 through 8. And I just want to also, what I shared in the email to the board was the point of NC check-ins, and Vanessa Baker is our testing coordinator, but when they originally started NC check-ins, and we were a pilot school 3 or 4 years ago, NC check-ins was the way that the state was hoping to move, where we would move away from a 1-day, 3-hour test. And we would move toward a 3 times a year assessment that could show where students are, what standards they've mastered, help the teachers reteach. The students can see how well they do. The teachers can see where the students should be, what standards the majority of students are mastering, which ones they're not. I know that one is a national test and one is a state test. I feel very confident that if we do well on a national test, we're absolutely going to do well on a state test. But I think what our teachers need right now is to see the exact standards at the state where the students are not making the growth or not mastering the standards that they've taught. And so that's why we're proposing it. And Vanessa, if you have anything else to add, I just want to make sure you speak because you actually attended the accountability meeting.
Just that the state did approve an innovation testing agreement going forward as a pilot, and those tests will be like check-ins. It's pretty much check-ins. So check-in 1 and 2 are what's been taught in those periods, and then check-in 3 would be all year. So this just enables us to start getting on that bandwagon a little earlier before the state does implement that, which it seems highly likely at this point they're going to go to that.
So again, I know the curriculum committee approved that we would stick with MAP and M-Class. We are asking that for this year that we could potentially go for NC check-ins in place of MAP for this year only.
Can I please have a motion from board member?
I guess I'll make a motion, so.
Make a motion. Can I have a second, please?
For discussion, I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion.
Curriculum committee, anybody want to weigh in?
Is Zoe here?
Yes, I will try. Let me see how I can speak when I talk, because that way it's going to be a bit easier. So, the thing is that I got surprised when I saw that part into the report. And that's because during the whole summer, we didn't hear anything like that. And last time when we met, you said that, and actually we worked hard to keep the M-Class, because we said that it's worth to continue with something for consistency purposes. So that way we can continue monitoring students and monitoring teachers' performance across time. The positive thing with MAP is that it is a nationally normed test. And I think it's very powerful for a parent to know that my child is performing on the 95th percentile, which means that 5% is better than my child. So what do you do as teachers to challenge my child? On the other similar way, my child is performing on the 6th percentile. 94% is better. What do you do as school in order to support my child's needs? What is the IEP saying? How are you supporting the IEP? What is the projected goal for my child? I think it's very powerful to have this type of questions that build accountability. So it's difficult for me to move away from something that we started 3 years. Yes, it's 3 consecutive years.
Yeah.
When and we have monitoring data, we have cross-time data, and then also in May you identified based on MAP growth teachers that they didn't make that growth. So this year, your plan was to follow those teachers in order to support them to make equal growth. If you take away that map, how are you going to keep accountable your teachers? It makes no sense to me that you are selecting a state test, something that is to the standard. Good instruction, if it is good instruction, is teaching the standards. That's why I don't understand the logic of NC check-ins. That way we know we're teaching the standards. Well, good instruction should teach the standards, no matter what. So you have the chance with the MAP test to communicate with your parents You say that this is what we do, this is innovation, we move your child from that percentile to that percentile. That is very powerful for a parent. And it keeps you as a school accountable in many ways. It helps the teacher to set goals. So when the teacher in the middle of the year sees, or the teachers of the grade, see that projected growth is that much, and in the middle of the year they have surpassed that growth, they're in a very good path. If they are at the very bottom, something is happening. So that gives you as a school the power to support your teachers, to really support your teachers, to have teams of people to provide them the tools they need. So it's difficult for me to move away from math again, and that's because we started in 2015 with no testing in the school. It took 2 years to set some accountability in the school because everyone was doing whatever they wanted. There was no testing, there was no screeners, there was no diagnostics. I was stressed, I cannot say how much. I'm very grateful that Ms. Baker showed up on the way and she started helping to set up the system of assessments in the school and a system of accountability for us as teachers. Our obligation is not to make good students. Our obligation is to make good thinkers. So if you teach them, if you teach right, they pass the test. We're not taking to a test. So that's my belief, and I'm saying to you the same things that I say to everyone else. I'm not saying something different. And the people that I do say all these things, they do have great effects. I mean, Tanya, that I put you in touch with, 70% growth on a state test this year. 70%. So if you teach well, and if you are supporting people to use their data and understand data, these class reports from math, or when you download these are so powerful. Looking by child, the information is amazing for a teacher. You don't get that with an NC checking. So we had said to, if I recall correctly, we said to use that for middle school because middle school doesn't have a reading measure. And we said to have something for middle school because middle school doesn't have an M class. And we don't do M class for 6th grade. And in the last meeting we said yes, because that will make sense to support them for reading, and that way we have a measure to see how it correlates with the scores of math. So this came to me as a big surprise because I feel we're throwing away $30,000 that we put down for 3 years down the drain, and then we will have a gap for a year, and even if we continue next year, it's useless because we lost the continuity across time.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
And I do want to say that, listen, Vanessa and I have put in countless hours trying to help teach the correlation of a MAP objective to an NC standard. You know, trying to help explain exactly what you're saying. But like you stated, the school is new to data. And I want to say that I also brought in data when I started as the principal here. When we adopted the Fontes and Pinnell, so that there was some sort of data so that the teachers could see where the students were and that they were growing. Yes, we've evolved and we adopted M-Class and we have MAP. And I want to go back to MAP. But if it took us this long to teach the teachers how to become comfortable with data, what we feel and we're confident about them being successful at is seeing the direct correlation of a North Carolina objective and their success as a teacher. And I'm just saying 1 year. I really think that they'll be able to see the direct correlation because they've struggled for 2 years now understanding the MAP and relating it to their good teaching. And they're fantastic teachers, but we want to be able to give them the opportunity to see the direct correlation. And I would love to go back to math next year when we have $10,000 to be able to spend on top of the 6. We're sticking with M-Class. We're not changing M-Class.
Well, you see, Sandra, this is where I am a school that has the money to go to buy land and do all these things that we do. I find surprising we cannot find the $8,000 to continue with something we have invested $30,000 all these years. So I think that if we had been discussed, I'm sure that something would have happened. Already I saw that the budget has $6,000 on something that we don't really paid for, the 6,000 on the professional development, which is accounted for 2019-2020, and really it was paid from a federal grant. So obviously the money, it would be surprising to me for a charter that is doing all these innovative things and is proceeding with such purchases, we cannot find $8,000. That will be very surprising to me. That will be kind of, I'm sorry for the word that I'll use. Word I say, I'm sorry, but that will be pretty pathetic. That will be sounding pathetic from my view. So what I heard you say was that we are trying to make our teachers feel comfortable, and that way our teachers will feel more comfortable as teachers. Well, I don't want to sound harsh, but I love our teachers. I love all teachers. I support all teachers. I'm here for the kids. And the way that I can support the kids is to support the parents to see the needs of their kids, and to support the teachers to support the needs of the kids. They teach well. Math testing is normalized, but it's also accounting the standards for North Carolina. So I don't think what we said last year was to look at the alignment between what your teachers are teaching and what the standards are. So whether they are taught on an alignment across time. That's what we said. I cannot see if you have data for 3 consecutive years on a teacher and on students, and you throw this away for 1 year and you start it the next year, it's like starting again from zero.
Thank you,
Because
Zoe.
no continuity.
Thank you. Now you have to say
Yeah,
anything.
no, I agree with Zoe. I think it's very difficult from a consistency point of view, both for tracking the students as well as for assessing the teachers, to have this gap in the data and then be expected to potentially pick up again the year after, where we lost that continuity right there. And I think the consistency is very important in this case, and I think it serves our purposes. We saw that when we were looking at teacher performance at the end of this year. That data was very, very revealing.
Well, we do have EVOS, and we get EVOS data every year from the state. And that EVOS data tells us who's growing and who's not. Are our high achieving students growing, or are low achieving students growing? And it does, and with the M-class data, we got that from EVOS. That's in EVOS, and EOGs are in EVOS. So we won't lose data to be able to determine teacher effectiveness because we have the EVOS data. So I wouldn't say that it doesn't exist, because it does, it's just different. You're correct in that we won't have math, but we will have EVOS.
Thank you. Anybody else? Talk about it?
Is this decision, do we have to make this decision tonight? Or is this something that the curriculum committee can explore? Because it sounds like the curriculum committee has not looked at this.
Oh, they looked? Okay. I'm sorry.
When is the first test?
The first
scheduled?
benchmarks for both would be in September.
Do you know when in September?
Typically, it's the month of September, because just how long it takes to get everybody tested. And usually we're set up in a system with NWEA prior to that, around now, end of August.
So what would be the impact if we waited until next month, while in the meantime we have a curriculum committee meeting and we discuss this amongst ourselves in more detail? What would be the impact if we don't know which one we will finally go to until, let's say, the 12th of, I don't know, when is that?
It would push back our benchmark dates. That's it. Which we try to have data teams at a strategic time so that the data is still current, and so it would impact us with M-class because that's earlier. We wouldn't have MAP and M-class look at it at the same time.
So it would be September 11th, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we have a deadline for joining Fancy Check-ins?
I haven't been told specifically.
Okay, so
We can't hear you very well, Zoe.
we cannot hear you, Zoe.
I said that the earlier you do the math testing, the better it is for your projected growth, for teachers' projected growth. So if you see the guidelines that NAP is providing, you need to do it as early as you can. Because the later you do it, the projected growth is going to be much higher. The teachers are going to be stressing because they can't reach that percentile because it's by month, right, within a year. So if they do it very early in the year, it's going to be better for them to see projected growth for the middle of the year. The earlier you do math, the better it is for you as a school. That's what we said last year too.
Well, we're talking about maybe less than a week and a half difference here, so I think based on this conversation, I don't see that we have a consensus among the people who are on the curriculum committee. So I'd say week and a half, I'm willing to live with it if it's doable, and let's study it a little bit more so that we can make the best decision for the kids and the school.
So you
withdraw? Yeah, I'd like to
withdraw
table the motion.
Table the motion. No, withdraw. We have to make it, to table the motion, not you. Okay, table the motion. I don't know what how this works. I'm sorry?
I want to ask something out of curiosity. So when we do the mock testing, do the parents get a real report for their child that says that we completed the assessment, your child performs on the 85th percentile. This means that your child is that many percent is better than your child. These are strategies you should use to support your child. Do the parents get that?
The parents receive notification of their scores, yes, with a template letter.
The parent
So
says no.
they get strategies that they can work with their child so they feel that they are part of this assessment support?
No, the strategy would come with a meeting with the teacher. The strategy doesn't come printed out on the scores.
Okay, and the parents haven't commented positively on this. This is very powerful for a parent because they can keep accountable the school and the teachers. I mean, I would be, as a parent, I would be very annoyed if someone took that away from me.
If I'm going to be honest, the feedback that I've received from some parents, and there's parents in the room, that it's an overwhelming assessment and they don't understand it. So we try to put out links to parents to help them understand it. I did a workshop with parents, I don't know, a year ago on it. But I do believe that parents find it very difficult, and they also struggle to see the correlation then for the EOG, because we've noticed that map projections for EOG are not always accurate. And so we're sharing with parents that their student may get a 4 and then they get a 3, and that's based on the EVOS 2 saying that they should get a 3, and then MAP is saying they should get a 4. So I think parents just feel very conflicted about how it all goes together.
We have 2 more minutes for this subject. We have to move ahead, please.
Do you do parent workshops? Because again, this is very powerful. I see states and counties adopting a nationally norm test because the goal is for their children to be beyond the state's standards. North Carolina, it's not known for its high achievement. So having something that pushes the envelope higher, I think it's a good thing. So I'm not anything else. Mr. Burles, I understand I went over the 2 minutes.
Yeah, yes, I understand. The only question I have, we see here, what I see here, the only thing I say, and we table the discussion, we see here, what do the money overweight the importance of having here this education system? And above all, we are a data, I can say database, evidence-driven school. And does this help us to follow with what we're doing here? And the other is, are the teachers and parents accept this, have mastered this? Let's say, can we do anything we can to master it and understand the importance of what the curriculum committee is suggests? Thank you. That's all.
Can I address something you just brought up? Because we sat in a meeting here with Acadia, and one of the things that we talked about was putting in a contingency plan to our budget, okay? And while Zoe's correct, $8,000 in an overall $5 million budget is not significant. But it is significant, okay? And I want you and everybody on the board to understand that. Because you can't have it one way one day and another way another day. okay?
What did I say, what I said,
Well-
which overweights the importance of saving, of really not spending money, that's what I said, spending money.
Okay,
you didn't
but we've
take.
already spent $6,000 earlier that we don't have
I
budgeted.
just
Now
expressed my
we're
opinion.
talking about another $8,000 that we're gonna have to
I
find.
understand.
On top of that, you and Acadia have tasked me and the administration with saving $100,000 in a budget that's already tight.
I agree with what you said. I didn't say
Oh,
anything.
yeah, but that's why I'm saying you're talking out of both ends of your mouth.
No, Yanni, you understand what I said. It's a data-driven.
I understand that, I understand
School year.
that, but don't sit there and say that $8,000 is not
I
significant. It
understand
is
I'm for
significant.
and against for, you know.
Okay,
just-
well, you can't have it both ways. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand, that's what I'm saying.
That's a good point, move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. AIG research proposal.
Yes, we had a UNC Charlotte student come last month and she presented to the board, but a no vote was made to approve the research study or not. We actually have Katarina in the room who wasn't here, but it's an 8th grade AIG research study, and the way she proposed it, I mean, everybody received it very favorably. It was going to be 30 minutes a couple of times with 8th grade students, but it's just to, the main idea is to see if are students able to use their creativity in solving problems, or are they moving towards strategies and becoming more robotic? And if you teach them to be creative and innovative thinkers, will they apply creative strategies in math? So she asked if she could have her research proposal here. She submitted all the documents to the board last month,
She came here.
but we never officially voted on it, so
I'll
she's
make
been
a
asking.
motion that we approve.
Can I have a second, please? Can I have a second? John made the motion, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, well, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We thank you. That's a good for the school as well. Thank you. Let's go on. Elementary PE uniform, per miles.
Yeah, so we're looking to approve have our K through 5 wear PE uniforms on their PE days, which is only one day per week. The first year, more of an option, see how it goes, and then the second year, making a mandated thing. Like I said, just for you got some wearing long pants, you got some wearing skirts and stuff like that. So, like I said, we're sticking with the same kind of concept that we do with the middle school now. We have our blue here shirts, and then we have our mesh shorts here.
Turn it the other way around. The other one.
Yeah. We're looking to add the emblem on this one for K through 5.
What do you mean emblem?
The Socrates
The logo.
seal.
The one that you put here.
It's either going to be
So,
here on the sleeve or on the
This is a must
on the
for
back.
every uniform here.
Yeah.
Okay, for everybody, for
Mhm.
the athletics, for the PFI, and
Yeah.
everything, any uniform and things like that.
Yeah.
And if we have, I can say this one, if we have some problem of pasted, whatever you call it, on here and here,
Okay,
we can find out a way to make it easier to do this, so also parents don't pay as much as they pay now. Okay, but we'll do, yeah.
So we're looking at making, instead of blue and blue, to make it a steel gray. So more of a different kind of K through 5 and then a middle school option.
Yeah, and I see that one of the name of Socrates Academy there, very nice, and because they say to me, it doesn't mean anything, or Sigma Alpha. Okay, so Socrates Academy is our name,
So,
like the Scholars Academy.
can I ask you a question? That's the uniform, the PE uniform for both boys and girls?
Yes.
And they have, you're proposing to have this once a week? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah, and so what about if it's, when it's cold?
Chiplet sweatpants.
They have sweat?
We're gonna order them. So they would order this combo, and then when it gets colder, have the option of getting the sweatpants with the same logo, the same thing.
So is that gonna be an expense that the parents don't have to pay right now?
This is
are we
optional
adding
now.
something?
Middle
It's
school is
optional.
mandated. It's optional now, but like I said, a lot of schools do offer this. Like I said, it's
Right,
just
and-
like I said, it's wearing to tear on their school uniforms.
I understand, I'm just trying to see what the impact on the families would be, so how much.
Optional
would it
this
cost?
year.
Yeah, but it's optional this year, but we're voting to make it required, right?
This combo here was 20. So the sweatpants I would think would be 30 for the combo.
$30
Mhm.
a child, yeah.
I think they would love to have them and they can spend, because coming here dressed with this and then go to the classroom, you shouldn't undress, you shouldn't dress again. I see that with my granddaughter anyway, but it's up to you. The problem they face, okay?
I like those.
Okay, all right, can I have a motion please to go ahead and approve?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it, and I want a set too.
Lucien said pair. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Move on. Very nice conversation, and very nice, congratulate everybody with the meeting we have. Professional. The next item is compressor, air condition, MS. Mr. Tatsis.
Just do it all in one. Save us some time.
All right, I'm just gonna do my whole report. Oh, okay.
We know who you are, and you just tell us what you
Okay.
want, how much money you want.
We need $2,000 for the sprinkler system. There's a compressor that helps the sprinkler system run correctly. The quote is from the company that we've been using,
We have that, yes.
and I have the quote. The actual quote is $18.47, but they say we may need to have an electrician move one of the wires, something. And if we use the same electrician that we've been using, I don't see it being more than a couple of $100,
Okay.
to have him help with that. So approximately 2,000 or 2,100 is the most that we would need for this.
Okay, let's go ahead and,
Can I have a motion,
I'll
please?
make a motion to approve up to $2,100 for repair of the sprinkler system.
So we have two things here, right? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also
Oh, wait, we should.
Yeah, one by one.
Sorry.
One by one. Second? Can I have a second? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Unanimously. Go ahead, the next one.
Okay, the next item is one of the air conditioners on the roof of this building. One of the fans has gone bad, and it's the air condition that supplies the multi-purpose room. And the repair for that is also approximately $2,000. It's $18.92, and the guy has to replace the fan motor. And right now I've turned the unit off so it doesn't run, because he said if the fan absolutely stops, then it could burn up the compressor. So the replacement cost for the fan motor is approximately $2,000.
Can I have a motion to go ahead, please?
Okay.
Sorry, 1 minute, Terry. I know you're very good, I know you're watching, you're going with
Well, I'm trying to
the
hurry.
people there, you see if it's wrong or right, I know. You're doing a great job. I mean, that's not, the motion, John.
I'll make the motion
Can I have a second, please?
What, let him make the motion.
You made it, the motion. Go ahead.
What is
to approve the motor replacement on the air conditioning for, is that?
It's the fan motor for,
You said
Right, was that-
18 something.
Yeah, $1,892, $1,900.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Thank you. We have, this is one,
Do you have anything else?
you have two items there for approval.
the city did do the repair out on the street. Everything looks good with that. They're coming tomorrow to work on the fire alarm panels. to install more surge protectors to try to prevent the damage that's been happening. Let's see.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you.
What's that?
We had a problem last year with false alarms, okay? And one of the things that you mentioned was that it was the security system,
Right.
okay? Did we ever get the security system and our IT folks together this summer so that we can?
Yes, what we found out is something was going on with the switches that are in the gym, the switches that control the server and
Right,
our
right,
computers and all that stuff. See, all that stuff is connected. So when those devices started malfunctioning, the key card readers malfunctioned, the cameras malfunctioned.
Okay.
See, everything was malfunctioning. Now that Clayton has sort of repaired that, we haven't had any false alarms. So over the summer, the police haven't called at all. We haven't had any alarms go off.
That's good.
You see, it could be that system was breaking down and sort of causing some of these things.
Next time, call Miles and he'll come up here.
Yeah, he'll kick it.
If it's the gym, right?
And, yeah, and now everything seems to be a little better.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's about it. Oh, well, the floor doesn't matter. I mean, that comes out.
All right, let's go on. Thank you, Jimmy. The next item is annual fund yearbook. I think we talked about it a little bit, but this is the decision of administration, but let's vote for this. Can I have a motion, please, to yearbook, the creation of the yearbook and the money be done by the administration and our staff here, and the money go to the annual fund operating budget. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, can I have a second?
Wait, let her state the motion, please.
I want to make sure that I say correct.
State the motion, please. We cannot hear you very well.
I will make the motion for the yearbook to be developed under the guidance of the administration and for the income from the yearbook to be part of the annual fund.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Unanimously. Let's go to the next item. Principal's report. Take as much time as you need, please, because the previous one we took a lot of time, and just make up the time. Thank you. Smile. That's what I want. Smile.
I'm trying to find my report.
I have it if you don't have it.
If it's for information.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all for information
No, we have it, that's it,
purposes.
okay. All right, let's go on. Yeah, approve the report. Can I have a motion to approve the report, the principal's report? We do we have to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a
Can I have a second?
I'll
Second?
second.
Okay, any discussion? Any questions? Any, no. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously, okay. Let's go facilities committee report. 3 and 2 minutes. You got
He's
it.
already
right?
getting it, yeah. He's already getting it.
Okay, with the approvals. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go, we catch up the time.
One item that's not on this agenda that Miles sent out was the athletic report.
5,000.
Huh?
Yeah, I have it here. I have a report here.
Wasn't there something on there for them for us to
asking for
discuss?
$5,000. I have the report here.
Okay.
You're gonna discuss it now? You didn't discuss it with your athletics.
It wasn't on the
I'm sorry?
agenda, so.
It's not in the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
That's my mistake.
Can we discuss it, or do we need to table it till the next meeting?
If there is a need, you want me to ask to table it?
Is it
Because
is it urgent?
For time, John, we're talking about September, October, so maybe it can wait September.
Let me say something, let me answer the question. We right now are in the process.
Don, are you going to add it now and discuss it?
No,
Or are you
no,
going to
it's
wait
not,
until next
okay.
month?
Let's wait next month. But I inform you what's all about, but it's not in the agenda, so we cannot talk.
Thanks, guys.
So that I will inform you.
We'll talk.
We have already
Thank
talked with the foundation. Facilities, the next item is Facilities Committee report, okay? Board of Directors, we did set up. I just would like, we haven't had a retreat for a long time now, and I think it's the right time, during this month, the next month, September, until our next meeting, to have a retreat. The board of directors, board of trustees, and everybody, administration, to discuss our goals for the next year, to do other things, strategic plan and things like that. I would suggest to have a Saturday. Can we agree on a Saturday from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock to have that retreat? We used to have in the past, okay? We can choose one of the Saturdays, the coming Saturdays, if we can. We can go to also as well to September. But can we do it before our September meeting? Doesn't matter if we do it after the September meeting.
There's an event that's gonna be happening at 600 East Boulevard that keeps me away from that, okay?
Okay, so let's make it after, no, I'm talking about after the 10th.
You said before that, you said before.
I said maybe if we can, but if we cannot make it, let's hear the others as well. But if we
What is the
I cannot
date?
make it this Saturday as well, John, no. I'm
What
sorry?
is the date you're suggesting?
I didn't suggest any date, I just bring up to the board to really agree on a Saturday or a Sunday, it doesn't matter, or any other day, it doesn't matter, to have a retreat. We used to have from 9 o'clock in the morning, we will offer lunch also and breakfast, okay? And at the same time, after the retreat, we can have our board of directors meeting to approve the decision we made, as we used to do. Now, can we have a Saturday? Are you available on a Saturday? Which Saturday? That's what I'm asking.
Can we do this via email so that we can check our schedules and so on?
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm bringing it to the board, so we have to have a retreat. We're talking about our strategic plan, we're talking about our professional development plan, we're talking about the many things, goals and culture in our organization here, and what we can do best.
Yeah, I suggest you send an email to the board
Like a
and the
doodle poll.
administration. And just list some rough agenda and when you would like to have it, and then
I never
fix the
like it, but since you have the modern technology, I can maybe Zoe can do it, or the administration can do it here. Can put out this thing that and everybody sign in and see and compare that time. Can you do it, Zoe?
I will do that tomorrow, yes.
Very good.
I need emails of all the people that they are part of this. So is it the board of directors, the administration, board of trustees?
Yes, PFI,
PFI, okay.
okay?
Yes,
Yes.
I will send the emails to Miss Brighton to confirm that I have all emails, and then I'll send everything out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Is
but
the
anyone,
emails-
if I
is-
sound like I'm
yeah.
yelling, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is the emails that I used when I sent you the agenda.
Okay.
The same
I will
emails.
use it.
Yes, Mrs. Plesser?
I just wanted to make sure this was aware of something we mentioned the other day. If the board is meeting to discuss things, it is technically an open meeting. So if there is a retreat, people have to be permitted to observe. So if it was on campus, that's fine, but if you were to go somewhere, there has to be an opportunity if business is being discussed. So I just wanted to put that out there to make sure you all were aware that that is a requirement.
Because as long as 3 are together, it's considered a board meeting, right? That's why you're all very cautious about how you mingle together.
To understand this, repeat that again. You repeat that again, Mrs. Plesser.
It was what we talked about the other day. If the board is meeting in an official capacity to discuss the school at all, to discuss business, it is technically an open meeting. And therefore, the public has to be allowed to observe. Not necessarily participate, but observe, so that you'd have to do the retreat, for
I'm
example.
not
on
sure that
campus.
that's 100% accurate, because I know the city council and the school board goes on retreats that are behind closed doors.
To discuss business?
They discuss like an annual strategic plan. We'll need to check with DPI before but I hear what you're saying, and that's something that we'll have to verify with DPI, and then if whatever their decision is, we'll go by it.
Okay.
Mrs.
May I
President,
request that once you find that information, that you follow up with me so I can know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You will be one of the participants.
Right, you will be one of the participants.
Well, that's fine, but it's more for the other people. If
No,
it's
no,
in-
I understand.
Right, yeah, and the other people, we inform every people, I mean, we send out an email.
But I have to say that I appreciate both you bringing that up because we're all together on this. So I want to make sure that we're doing what's right. So I appreciate that this is brought up.
Right. It's
I
right.
really do.
It's just, yeah, thank you. Anybody would have one of those editors we have here, they can have the right to express themselves, to speak for 5 or 10 minutes and things like that. And then the board will take over. Okay, so we got that with Joy. Next item on the agenda is Facilities Master Plan Task Force Committee. As Mike mentioned before, Foundation, he signed already, if not the contract with the church, and we're going through the church to buy that property. And we are right now in the process, I mean, from tomorrow we will start the task force committee master plan to come up what we to finalize this master plan, to utilize any piece of land we have there, including the new one we will purchase, and then with the architects and the professional people here, engineers and architects and parents and board, the two boards, you know, we come up with we will have to find out, we plan what we want to do as a first phase in that land, okay? And the first phase, as we said, is the cleaning the area there, is the field and track, is the upgrade of the playground, and also is the carpool with road access. See how much money we have there, okay? See how much money we need. We may need to go to the bank to get a loan. Yes, we need to go to the bank to get a loan, and any other fundraising sources we have to bring in money. Okay, that's where we are. We will inform the parents. We promise that we're going to start this work in the summer, but it took us 2.5, 3 months really to go through this. Now, the people, the Irene and Mr. Cavalaris and Mr. Purcell and the arts engineer, we're ready now to move ahead and plan and realize our efforts here. Okay, that's what I wanted to say about the Facilities and Master Plan Task Force Committee. The next item is accreditation by advance. Please, Mrs. Biden.
Yeah, so our accreditation visit is scheduled for January, so we actually just had a meeting with some teacher leaders today to just talk about how the standards that Advanced Ed will come in to start looking at. Again, it's exactly what you're talking about with the retreat, looking to make sure that we are setting goals and striving to meet them, creating action steps. So we will be working on the preliminary, school improvement plan to bring as a proposal to that retreat of what this strategic plan looks like, of course, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. But the visit is scheduled for January, and we will have lots of documents we have to upload for that accreditation team. I was telling Mr. Prulis, I served on an accreditation team in March. The board approved that I could attend I served for 3 days to go serve on the team accrediting a school that was a K-12 school, very similar to ours. So I've learned the process and I'm confident that we'll be able to get through the process.
Yeah, I hope this time they'll come in March, Mr. Biden. And I forgot to mention, just, I don't know.
They're coming in January.
Yeah, I received an email today that NIS, I don't know what NIS is all about.
NIT,
NIS, what is it called?
NIT, N-I-C-H-E.
That our school, our elementary school is the #2 school in the North Carolina, after the scholars, I hope this is right, but I received such a note. It's #2 in the Carolinas, in the North Carolina. Anyway, that's for making some of you happy, if it is true.
It makes us happy. What do you mean it will make my?
No, if it's true, I'm saying it's NIS, I don't know.
What do you mean if it's true? Because you received
It's not the DBI, it's not the DBI, it's not the State Board of Education.
It's from Niche, and that's what they told you. So,
They sent it to Dennis.
Okay.
Popularity contest.
What is NIS? I just don't understand.
that I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm
you know,
saying too.
But you said if it's true,
You made
it
an
will make you
announcement.
happy,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah, they make me happy, but I have the inside, is it true? I mean, let's see what the DBI says, what the North Carolina State Board of Education says, what the GAEOG say. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Well, we haven't received these results. Okay. Let's go to the next now. Oh, we have no more extra. John, I
There
wanted
is
to
one
agree.
item you need to update.
Yeah. We should have a consent on this in the one before we started, but I think there is an urgency to discuss this matter, and is the concerning the grievance of Mr. and Mrs. Hattons against the board of directors, okay, for not following our North Carolina meetings law, open meeting laws, okay, and according to our policy, we started our informal grievance process yesterday, Tuesday. We had a meeting with them, the grievance committee members, which is I and Mrs. Gibson, and I think Mrs. Gibson may want to say a few things after that. We had the first meeting, the informal meeting. We talked with him, Mr. and Mrs. Karen and I. We said what we have to do, what the grievance is asking us to do, okay, and of course we will follow all North Carolina open meetings, and then Mr. and Mrs. Hatton said that this is a grievance against the board. But as we see, it doesn't matter what kind of grievance it is, the grievance should be handled the way that our policy, our grievance policy, this is coming from the Office of Charter Schools, so we have to follow our policy. So we will continue, we will proceed with the second phase of the grievance and to resolve our differences or whatever, or to do what we're supposed to do. And we, of course, will follow everything that the North Carolina open meetings law state. Do you want to say something else, Tony?
No, I wasn't there. I don't know if Karen
Okay,
was.
Karen, please, would you like to say something?
I think that, yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay, sorry, Karen, I thought. I'm here.
Yes.
So as Mr. Perula stated, we did meet with Doug and Cassandra Hutton the other day. They had 3 different violations that they've noted in what they had submitted to the board. One was around board and committee meetings and making sure that we one, have those posted for any that want to come. They understand that they won't be able to speak unless they ask to speak and get approval on that. Part of their first violation was in regards to committee meetings that we need to have. It's in the laws that they gave to us that all committee meetings need to be, scheduled needs to be published as well as minutes.
Karen, I don't think we have to go through this. As long to go to, our grievance says that we follow our grievance policy. So we are in the informal process, and the Office of Charter School, we said today that we have to go through the second phase, the formal grievance, and then come to the board,
Okay,
whatever.
so does the board have what they submitted to us? I'm just sharing with them so people can understand specifically what the charges that are being brought against the entire board, whether it be informal or formal.
We send the grievance, we send the grievance to all board of directors.
Okay, so everybody has viewed that and understand.
They have it before our grievance meeting yesterday,
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you wanted to do, if you want to proceed in a different way, if you want to proceed, because the thing that we, according to...
There's no different way.
Yeah, no different way, that's why, because yesterday, Karen, she's right, Karen said that we may conduct also Rhonda to find out how we proceed, We have specific days within our policies, 10 days, 15 days, or 25 days.
Yeah.
Do you have something else to add here, or do you have a different,
I mean, no, I don't feel like I don't know why, or if we need to get any type of counsel, because we have a copy of the law.
Yes.
And it's pretty clear on what it states, what we need to be doing in reference to posting our meetings, posting minutes, and we've just not done that. They've asked that we ensure that those things are done. They have also asked that we go back to past minutes where decisions were made in closed session. They need to be, general information needs to be posted in the open session minutes. The discussion happens in closed, but the action is supposed to happen in the open session. And then they've asked for a summary of the committee's work over the past year. Originally, they wanted all of the minutes from all the past committees. I thought that was just too much to ask at this time. They agreed with a summary of what the committees have worked on throughout the year, but going forward, it is the law that we do have to have those minutes as well as the schedule posted.
So here's a question I have, and I asked this question from the curriculum point of view. We always have reports that they are we have agendas, we have reports, and we share them with the board. I don't see the value of having separate minutes, because our report that we share with everyone is really our minutes. So why do we need to...
I understand we all have interpretations about what we think and what we give to the board. The law specifies that we have to post the schedule of all our committee meetings and minutes from all of our committee meetings. The law. It's not up for our personal opinion or interpretation. It's the law.
Karen is right. Please, the reason here, we're not going to discuss the whole grievance, because what I wanted to say here is that according to our grievance and what the Office of Charter Schools said, that we have to follow our policy process. So that's not yet a board of directors matter. It is the grievance members' decision. Okay, so we're going to follow with our informal process, our formal process. We sit down again with the people. We will do everything we can according to the North Carolina law. And if they are not satisfied, we will give them a written from the grievance committee, not from the board. We give them a written document, and if they don't agree with that, then they can appeal. Okay, that's the process, and it's not going, just to mention that we are going through our process of a grievance. So everything is on the way. I think Karen agreed. And if Karen and I need another person to join our grievance, you are welcome to come. But grievance, Karen and I, and Karen is leading right now the process together with me. as co-chairs to resolve this problem, okay? Everything will be according to the North Carolina State Board. That's it, okay?
That's fine, we're not doing anything bad. So if it's just following more the typical outcome of everything, I'm happy with it because it's very easy to do.
It's not a board member, it's not a board of directors matter yet. It's the grievance, it stays with the grievance as a second phase. Thank you.
I do.
Karen, you wanna say something
I wanted
there?
to add something to what Karen was saying, that I did reach out to Dave Machado about the reports, and the curriculum committee, for instance, that has a standing meeting monthly, submits the report to the board every month, and that report is what Dave Machado said, as long as when we submit it you have it under items for consent, those reports to just make public.
Those are the minutes.
Because
right,
he said it
yeah.
doesn't need to be like the agenda or the minutes, it can be the report. So we
Exactly.
actually, those have been submitted, they just haven't been linked to the board meeting minutes that are on the website. So those links could be made,
Great.
okay?
We have everything. Thank you, Karen. The next item, we don't have any next item, we cover this, we have anything, grievance, we talk about grievance, which is, okay. I don't see any other pending. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the open meeting? And this is the motion I to adjourn and move to the closed meeting or open, or close, this is the, to adjourn the open meeting. Is that together and goes to the closed meeting? Tony, okay.
For what purpose?
For what purpose? For personnel matters, hiring and non-renewal of contracts. That's very good.
What's the motion? I'll make the motion.
You make the motion, can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good, unanimously. And then we thank you very much for being here. We're going into a closed meeting now, as the law requires, as we always do.